So, good morning to all you TNS listeners out there on Monday, the 23rd of April, 2012. Sorry about the technical difficulties we've been having there, and thanks for listening in. I'm Paul from Awaken Ireland, and I have James here with me too, and we'll be hosting this show until 2 a.m. And now over to James, who will be giving us a rundown on the topics on tonight's show.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the very first edition of the Awaken Ireland radio show. Myself and Paul, and we also have in the background as well, working away, researcher Sean as well, and we're very excited about starting the show. And we have a full-packed show for you tonight. It's a 2-hour show. We have, first of all, Kim McMiniman is going to come on. We're going to bring him on now in a few minutes just to talk about what's going on up in Donegal with Forum for Change. After that, we've got Rudy from Awaken Cork, who's one of the original creators of the Bog Hill event in Clare for the Forum for Change there, for Ireland's change, Ireland's future, and also Barry Callahan. Then later on, about 1:15 tonight, we have Barry, Richard Sarag's story. Very interesting man, very funny guy. He's going to come on and tell us all about his experiences with debt and courts. So, Paul, I'm going to try and ring Kim there on Skype. I'll bring him in there. On the call. It's the first call we're having then with the Awaken Ireland show. So just give me a moment there to bring him up. Kim has been involved with the Awaken. Well, it's not Awaken Donegal as such. Kim has been involved with a group called Forum for Change. She's been involved with Joe Murphy, who did the walk from the very top of Donegal there all the way down to. You there, Kim?
Yeah.
Okay. How are you doing?
Too bad. Do you want me to put the radio off or anything?
Yeah, please. If you can turn off the radio in the background, that'd be great.
Good evening, Kim.
Yeah.
That's Paul saying hello to you there, Kim.
Hello, Kim.
I can hear you now, loud and clear.
How are you?
Not too bad. How's the sound? Okay.
Yeah, fantastic. Actually, sounds good from here.
Okay, we have all the volumes correct there now. So, Kim, can you just give us a little bio there on yourself and how you got involved in the troop movement before we move on to the Forum for Change group?
Okay, it was probably through my martial arts, my study with the martial arts and the Zen Buddhism philosophy, getting in touch with your higher self and your true self, and that led me to, exploring other avenues like commercial redemption and stuff like that, and I did the whole Darrell O'D thing to begin with, the Mary Elizabeth Croft philosophy and things like that, writing the letters and stuff.
Yeah.
From that then, it was the first thing I noticed was some of the YouTube videos with the court procedures and people having a bit of success via the free man route, and then from that, the old Cheer and the Seer site led to then going and starting TNS radio, and then from that it kind of got to where we are now with the Mr. T philosophy, and getting to the point now where we don't really have to write letters because that's given subject matter jurisdiction, and we just can't do that anymore. We've got to now just be sovereign, realise who we really are and who we truly are, and knowing where we're coming from. So that's kind of where I'm at the minute, with the stuff. So it's interesting, and it's quite a revelation when you get it inside your head.
Yeah. Well, Kim, I've met you many times now, and you've invited me up to Donegal, and Paul as well, and many others, and we appreciated your hospitality. You have to say you're a very hospitable man, as well as your lovely wife, Marie there, and you have a great thing going on up there. You have great energy with the people that are involved up in Buncrana. You have a great space there. The dojo is fantastic as well. Great setup there, and could you tell us a little bit about the part of your group that did the Walk for Change there recently?
Yeah, well, our group started, as you know, I think you were involved in it yourself, with the Jim Carr A&R Crane events.
Yeah.
We started off there, and from that, members of the public, made suggestions to me and Maria that we should start a group, So we started a group, I think it's about a year ago now, Maria? Yeah, about a year ago now, and we started it, we just meet up the last Monday every month, the Atlantic Bar in Buncrana, And we discussed all sorts of stuff from fluoride in the water to the New World Order to sovereignty and all those subjects. And then from that, two of our members, Joe Murphy and John Wilson, it was Joe's idea. Well, no, sorry, it was one of our members, Bobby, in the group, who came up with the idea about the walk, and then Joe Murphy took it on board. He already had done the 25 mile an hour protest drive to the Dáil. So Joe then decided to do the walk from Malin which is the most northerly point in Ireland, to the Dáil. So that was a great thing, and they ended up getting on the Late Late Show, and John got to mention fluoride in the water.
That's right, yeah. He said, what was the question he was asked? Why haven't the Irish people responded so far?
Yeah, and John said it must be the fluoride in the water, and Ryan Tuberty said, oh, you can't blame the fluoride in the water for everything, and then the camera just shifted, and that was it. Yeah, but just to get that stuff out there into the mainstream media was great. But there is, as you know, James, yourself, there is a big awakening happening, and it's happening, starting to really speed up this year, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's speeding up so fast that we had to dedicate a show every week to it, because there's so many people involved, Kim and Marie there, that we have to broadcast what's going on, because I can't even keep on track of it, on top of it myself.
Yeah.
And we're all, Paul, aren't we? We're all involved with many different people from all over the country.
The network is growing on a daily basis. It's actually amazing, the pace it's picking up at this stage. I'm shocked. I'm very shocked, but it's all good. It's positive.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this year. It's going to be a very, very interesting year.
Yeah, I think so, and the fact that you guys are starting this radio show, that's good, because Vin gets everybody excited on his show, and then the next thing it just goes dead at 12 o'clock. So it's good that it's good timing with the show, I think.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah,
because you can expand on stuff that he was talking about as well, if you so wished.
Right, it's good that there's some night owls still out there. They're not everybody's in bed at this hour of the night.
Exactly, yeah. So
I think a lot of people, Kim, who are involved with the Truth Movement, nationally, they do tend to sit up late at night and to go on the internet. Maybe for some people it's the only time that they have to be able to research or go down a different route, they normally mightn't be able to go down.
Yeah, exactly. I think, I do most of my thinking after 12 o'clock, so I don't know if it's a good thing or not, because I'm into health and I like to get my proper sleep at the right time and get up early, but a lot of times I would sacrifice that just for the knowledge, because it's so stimulating that it keeps you awake,
And so what sort of reception did Joe get on when he got closer then to Dublin? I was watching some of the videos that he passed through all the different counties. It was fantastic,
Yeah, he got a great reception from generally from the general public and all that sort of stuff. But as you know, I kind of was saying to them not to lose focus of why they're doing the walk, and not to concentrating on how nice people are, because that's besides the point. The main point of the walk was to raise awareness. So I think Joe and Philip McFadden and John, they did a lot of talk and soul searching on the way. So the walk was great for them, especially for John Wilson, because he was able to impart a lot of the knowledge that he had on sovereignty and stuff to the other guys who knew nothing about it. So there's a lot happening on the way. They developed a lot of rapport between each other on the way. And but as regard myself, I know maybe you might be off the same mind. I'm 50-50 on protest, because part of me is thinking is this what they want us to do? Do they want us to, get out in the street and to, create a rumpus? Are we contracting, in a sense, by doing that? It's almost like we're pleading for some sort of, go easy on us kind of thing. You don't have to be so harsh. Master government, please go easy on us, and, let's get some concessions here. So part of that, at the moment, doesn't rest easy with me. So I'm 50-50 in the protest, but members of our group who wish to go down that route, I'll fully support them, the group will, but as a philosophical sort of way forward for our group, I don't think protest is our thing. I think we're not a protest group, we're more of a spread information group, which is, to me, is the biggest form of protest, because waking people up is going to be is going to be the real protest when people become aware and the consciousness of the whole nation changes.
Yeah.
That'll be the real change, not getting out in the street and kicking down doors and kicking cans about and doing all that sort of stuff, and raising placards. I don't think that's the way to go,
No, I don't think so. I agree with you there, Kim. Our next guest is Rudy from Teichmann from the Awaken Cork group, and Rudy's been one of the founders there of the Bog Hill Centre conference that we had, and that's really what the vision of the Bog Hill conference was all about. That's what came out of that weekend. It was a very powerful experience to be part of that. And it's all about finding solutions, but not just a couple of people finding solutions. It's about actually engaging with communities, which is what you're doing, and looking for solutions within the communities themselves.
Sorry, I missed that event now, Jamie, because it sounds really good. Is there another one planned?
Oh, there will be absolutely. There have to be a follow-up weekend.
Right.
We didn't even get through half the stuff that we wanted to get through.
And just, I know a lot of people out there don't really, and myself included, I don't really know a lot about it, just what I picked up on Facebook. Was there a lot of groups represented there on the day?
There must have been at least 20 groups from all around the country that were represented on the day, including members of
Sorry, I missed that now.
Parties.
It would have been good for our group to be there as well.
Plus lots of different concepts for positive changes in Ireland.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not theories, like actual concepts that do work.
Well, what's your view, Jamie and Paul? Just ask you this now. What's your view on all the small groups getting together? Because we've got to be mindful of not having a hierarchy and not having one big group with one leader or that type of thing that can be easily infiltrated, manipulated, taken over, destroyed. I think the fact that there is small cells all around the country is a really good thing in itself. Getting together maybe for a common sort of program of, a presentation or workshop is good, but I don't think we need to go down the road of becoming one big group. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, see, I was actually asked that question there recently. It was down in West Cork. What group are you? I said, we're not a group. I said, we're a movement. And I said, there's a very big difference between the two, because groups comprise the movement. So it's just all it is. It's just like a canopy that spreads out amongst all the individual groups. It doesn't have any direct influence on the groups unless the groups want to be influenced by it. From information sharing to funding or to help with promotion, branding, all that sort of stuff as well, to help spread the positive information that people are sharing or concepts that are being developed. That was the vision of the Bog Hill conference in March. That was the whole point and purpose of it. So that people will be able to have a good and clear and crystal understanding of what exactly the processes are in particular groups, with help from just the knowledge of others. So there isn't any hierarchy. All you have is a network of people, network of groups. You will have a few central points where the information gets passed through. People who are good at dealing with large volumes of information, but that doesn't make them in any way, shape or form have authority over any other groups. This has been discussed in great detail, amongst all the groups, the different groups that are out there that have already connected with the Awaken Ireland movement,
Well, that's good. That sounds good. Yeah.
It's basically also time that we unite, that we all come together, humanity.
Yeah.
We've been divided.
Yes.
Through
that's
so
important.
many different things. It's time to break out of that. Yeah. And as Vinny made a very valid point this evening, he said there is only us, the people on the planet, nobody else.
Yeah.
And we all have to basically, or we should, look after
And
it.
how is your group going, Awaken Waterford? How is the information? Have you come up with any more ideas of how we can maybe spread information faster and to a wider audience? And I suppose this radio show tonight is a good start.
Well, this is a start, yeah.
The Awaken Waterford's movement is focusing on putting a conference together at the moment for the 16th and 17th of June in Waterford, in the Dooley's Hotel, and we're looking to bring in international speakers, as well as the speakers from all over Ireland as well, in the different cells of the national movement as well. We're going to have the likes of Brian Garish, and Ian Crane might be coming over. It's not guaranteed yet, but Thomas Sheridan, an Irish speaker who wrote the book on psychopaths and how they have infiltrated all the highest positions in in our culture, in politics and the monetary organisations and such, and yeah, that's basically where we're at, and also helping to grow the national movement as well, putting an awful lot of energy into that as well, so that's kind of, again, we're not into protest. Protest is not part of what we do, but I can't speak for everybody within the group, and I never would. I mean, there is people within the group that do go and protest, and absolutely, but from what I can see, the majority of people are not really into protesting,
I think the only problem with the protesting in Ireland, like, it's a day out, and then after that day's over, everybody goes back to their normal routine, and it's not really, it's just a token protest, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, personally, I believe the only thing that protesting has achieved is that the police have armed themselves, basically, for crowd violence. They're now geared up for it. It hasn't achieved very much apart from that,
Yeah. It could be a workout for them, for all we know.
Yeah.
Kim, we're going to have to bring in Rudy now shortly. So, would you be interested in giving regular updates to us on what's going on up in Donegal?
Yeah, our next meetup is next Monday night in the usual venue, the Atlantic Bar in the main street in Buncrana. And what we've started doing, Jimmy, is I've got myself a screen and a small projector now. And the last meeting there, we had Sean McGuire from Galway, who he composed poems, for about the walkers, and then he did ones about Europe and the monetary system and stuff. He's very, very good, and I don't know if you've heard him before or heard of him, but he's really, really first class. His poetry is so on the money. It's unbelievable. It really will make the hair stand in the back of your head, that type of poetry, and he's very, very good. He'd be a good man to have along at any sort of presentation. Though you have a comedy actor, you mentioned your man Killian.
Aidan Killian, he's the sovereignty comedy sketch.
You should try and get in touch with Sean about doing a poetry session, because this guy is totally outstanding. And we had him on via Skype, and we had him up on the big screen. So effectively, we had him in our meeting, and we had Aisling Fitzgibbons from Tralee. You know about her fluoride campaign.
Oh yeah, no, Aisling very well. Yes. Yeah. Well, we've been on the road show with Aisling.
Live by Skype as well, because a lot of our members didn't really know the dangers of fluoride, and it was really good to get that first hand from herself. Well, for such a young person, she's such a great talker, and it was really, really great. Really, made our meeting so much better having guest speakers. So maybe Jimmy will get yourself on Monday night if you don't mind, and yourself, Paul, just coming in for a wee Skype call into our meeting. So that would be good.
No problem.
Sounds fantastic, Kim.
No problem whatsoever.
Yeah, lovely. Looking forward to it.
Something like we can communicate that way. All I have is a Skype connection or internet connection, laptop, screen, and projector, and there you go. You can have people in the room with you. So it's a great way forward, I think, for us.
Yeah, fantastic.
Right. Okay. We're going to leave you go there. Kim, thanks very much for coming on our first show. Obviously, there's a little bit of nerves here and a few technical issues there to start getting the actual broadcast to go out on the airwaves. But sure, listen, we'll keep in contact with you, and we'll talk to you later on today.
No problem. Yeah. Listen, good luck with the show, and I think it's something that for your group and for all the groups out there, it'll help you bring them closer together as well. It'll help you bring all the groups together, and you're promoting the Awaken Ireland now as well. And I hope your gig when it comes up in June is a massive one, and we'll certainly support it and bring people down.
Lovely, thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Kim.
Okay, lads, good luck with it now. And,
thank you.
I was going to say good night, but good morning.
Good morning. Have a good one.
Talk to you.
Excellent. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So that was Kim there from Forum for Change in Donegal. I'm going to make a quick phone call there now and try and get Rudy on the line. He's going to play a track there just to ease you into the next call. Hello, Rudy. Hello, Rudy.
I hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. Can we hear you?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
We have you now.
Good.
Okay, how are you today?
I'm fine.
That's good. We have a good connection, so we're going to go ahead with the interview. Rudy, this is our first show, first Awaken Ireland show, so it's been a little bit hairy, I have to say. It's hard to get the thing up and going.
Yeah.
A few nerves there, and technical problems, but we're well underway now, nice. And we just like to ask you to just give us a quick bio of yourself there, and let us know exactly where you're coming from. A little bit about your life journey. You had a very interesting life experience with on the sea. Experiences on the sea, and where that led you to Ireland and the troop movement.
Yes, okay, I give it a try. I'm a German, and I'm a retired seaman, sailor. I started when I was 17, and until 2 years ago, I was doing commercial shipping. And in between, I had my own sail training ship, together with my wife, and we ran it, and we came across the Asgard, too,
Okay.
which unfortunately is at the bottom of the Biscay. But we made friends with them, and that's how we ended up here in Ireland. We never left. We sold the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And we were running a guest house in Kinsale, and for 10 years, and now we are in West Cork.
Okay.
Retired, both of us, and I was interested in politics all my life, and that's how I joined up with some people here in Cork and got involved in this.
Okay. Can I ask you, what was your impression of the Irish culture when you first came here?
Oh, I love Ireland. I love the Irish culture. I'm playing traditional Irish music, and barrow on guitar. I'm singing. I'm trying the tin whistle and the low whistle at the moment, so I just love it.
Very good. And we've played music together, haven't we, already?
We have.
And very enjoyable, I have to say, down the Bog Hill Centre.
Yeah, it was really enjoyable, I can say so.
Okay, so you started off with the Awaken Ireland group. That was kind of a happen chance sort of meeting?
Well, not really. I mean, we met... Well, I came to that group in Cork. At that time, I was very disappointed because I was thinking of joining the Greens here in Ireland. I was in the Greens in Germany and gave that up when Yugoslavia was invaded. And
understandably,
I said,
yes.
Joschka Fischer was at that time the foreign minister in Germany, the Green. And I said, look, Joschka, you can do that alone. I don't agree with that, invading other countries. And I quit the Greens. And when I came here, I thought, here the people are a bit different. It's a different movement. But when they got into bed with Fianna Fáil, I said, look, it's about power again.
Mm-hmm.
So don't do it. So I was not involved in anything. But then I went to that presentation which was organized by the Sovereign Independent here in Cork with Ian Crane and William Engendal and Scott Tips. And I found a small note which was placed all over the seats. We are a group of people, and if you are interested in something like this, we meet there and there. And I went to the meeting, and that's how I got involved.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I've been down in that part of the world many times now over the last year, and I have to say that you're a great bunch of people down there. There's a real eclectic mix of individuals, that have varying backgrounds and experiences and education, and it makes for a very interesting mix, I have to say,
Of course, that's what it's all about. I think every individual has something to bring to the table and is part of a possible solution.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the Bog Hill conference, then, could you just the proper title of that was the Ireland's Future? Yeah,
well, the was Forum and Forum for Ireland's Future, I think we called it, and it was an idea which was first put forward by Richard Moore, whom I came across an article of his on the internet, and we got into contact, and I invited him to give a presentation to our group in Cork, and he came down, and he proposed that, and I thought that would be a good idea, and that it would be right on time, because I could see that the need is there, and I proposed it to the group, and we discussed it, and we selected a few people to go ahead with it, and we organized it. So it was great working together, and all the talents which were in that group who organized it were needed to make it happen.
Okay.
Rudy, just may I ask you there, what vision do you have for a better Ireland?
What vision for I personally?
Yes, with all your experience, you've travelled the world, you've seen many different cultures.
Yeah. I personally, I would love to get a community-based society where everyone cares for the other person. I don't need any of my pension if I was sure that somebody takes care,
Very interesting point, yes.
Yeah, we don't need all this if we in the community take care of each other, if it's organized locally, health care for the elderly, care for the kids. You have the saying, it takes only two to make a kid, but it takes a whole village to bring them up. And I think that's correct.
Very, very true, yes.
But aren't the Irish communities in general doing that themselves? There's an unbelievable amount of volunteer workers in this country. There's hundreds of thousands of them.
There are. But the problem is that the decisions to run their lives are taken away from them. They are in the county councils, and they are in the Dáil, and they don't have much influence. We still have a very good constitution here. So, the upcoming referendum, who else in Europe has this? We're the only left standing here who have a tiny little bit of sovereignty still, and we're about to give it away.
That's thanks to Ray Crotty, isn't it?
Can you repeat that, please?
That's thanks to Ray Crotty, an ex-minister for agriculture. I think he was the Fine Gael man, and that he was the one responsible for making sure that we have referendums on treaties that are going to have a massive effect on the future of the people of Ireland.
Yeah, well, I think it's in the constitution, so it's not that easy to take away, but they're working on it.
Yeah. Ireland is now the only European country left with a people's vote, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like that.
Yeah.
In Greece they tried it. Papandreou tried it before he was, I would say, shut down.
Yeah, and as far as I know, in 2005...
And replaced with his technocrat there, Papademos.
Okay.
But we have the referendum still coming up, so that's something.
Yeah, as far as I know, in 2005, when France and I think it was Holland went against the Nice Treaty, that was the last time they got a vote. The last time they had a people's referendum. It was then taken away from them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ireland now chooses the fate basically of is it 240 million Europeans?
Well, I think they were being realistically. I think they will go ahead with it. No matter what we vote here.
Sure. If it's in the agenda, it'll be just pushed through. Obviously, yeah.
It will be pushed through. I realistically, I see it like that.
Yeah.
But we have a chance here, and I was thinking the other day maybe we have a turning point in Irish history coming up. If we really decide, or if the majority of the people here vote no, then there is a whole lot of questions coming up. No doubt about that. About the getting out of the euro, because we will not have access to the funds. Mm-hmm. We would probably need them, but we don't have access. So we have to get out of the euro. We have to think of our own possibilities again. Maybe get a debt-free currency with an old central bank. And there is no exit door in the treaties, to get out of the euro without getting out of the EU. I have not researched it. I have just come across an article which stated that. But if that's the case, then the question comes up, do we remain in the EU?
We got a question here from the chat box. Anyone recall an eviction referendum?
What kind of referendum?
It's a sarcastic comment in the chat box there. Anyone recall an eviction referendum, as in they're evicting people out of their houses left, right and centre now? Rudy, started over the last month.
I'm sure they pushed it through at one of the previous football matches that was televised just to keep everybody entertained.
Yeah, in between the rugby matches as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Rudy, I was with you there in Bog Hill, and I have to say it absolutely blew me away. The people that were there, they were so engaged in the process, and an awful lot of that had to do with the fact that you organised it in a way that you understood human nature, and you understood that we needed a neutral person to be able to be controlling the flow of the conversation without shaping the flow of the conversation, if you know what I mean. Just redirecting the flow to allow people to come to choices themselves or come to a particular visions on different subjects. I mean, we talked about so many different subjects that weekend.
That was amazing. I mean, that was the first time I ever was involved in an event like that and organized like that, because I was used to discussions within groups, and they usually ended up adversarial and not very productive. Everyone tried to make his point and come out as the victor. And that struck me in Bog Hill, because those people who were there really cared and were motivated to go there. And we had this excellent facilitator, Chris. We owe him a great deal, that he really got the best out of all of us, so that we could make progress, and that we did not repeat all the mistakes which are usually made in conversations like that. And it was not a conference where we had any speakers who were speaking and the others were listening. Everyone was engaged in trying to find solutions. And that's, I think, what this movement is about, finding solutions.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's when I talk to people that don't know anything about the Awaken movement in Ireland, initially they might have a little bit of a defence up in front of them, thinking that it's some group trying to take control of their group, that sort of thing. But it's been built in such a way from the foundation up to where we are now, is that it's very easy to explain to people that it's not about that. It has never been about that. That's not why we came together at Bog Hill. That's not why, we've started to set up the Awaken Ireland groups all over the country, in nearly every county now at this stage. And not just Awaken named groups, but the likes of Forum for Change up in Donegal. You've got Repudiate the Debt in Dublin, and your TNS Radio in Dublin. You've got the Wexford groups as well. And, they're not all, they don't have to have the same name. It doesn't make a difference. It's not about that.
That's absolutely correct. I mean, that is, a non-party. We don't want to create a party. We are coming together to exchange ideas and to inspire the local community. I mean, that is, for me, the most important point, to get to communities in Ireland, organize them. Look at Ballyhee or Fermoy or wherever something is going on. And we basically have to work together and find solutions locally. I mean, we are, in a way, I see Awaken Ireland not as putting things forward to the people.
Yeah.
I think Awaken Ireland should be trying to inspire local movements which are autonomous. We can't give them what we have found out. That we can give them, but the solutions they have to come up with themselves.
Yeah. Isn't every community, individual?
Can you explain what you mean?
Isn't every community individual, but they have in common many things?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's what I think. All these groups which are out there at the moment, of course they are autonomous. autonomous, individual, but we have a common goal to make a better Ireland.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The biggest problem at the moment that people face is the fact that they're drowning in crippling debt. So that's something that we have to address very much straight away. And we actually have a speaker that's coming on after yourself, Barry Callahan. You've met Barry many times now, and his Riches to Rags story is very interesting indeed. And we need to get that fixed, ASAP. And that's why we've had the likes of Cathal Spellman talking about dual currency social credits. We've also, Vinny talks about MPE all the time, mathematically perfected economy. And it doesn't matter what you call it, as long as we have something in place in case the system comes down tomorrow, next week, or next month.
Yes, that's correct. And there are also other things going on, like the Let's movement.
Yeah.
So that we don't need actual money in our hands. I mean, the world won't come to a stop. I mean, we will still have a society which will still be functioning. Yeah. But we have to come up with other ways, alternative ways, if we are facing that problem.
Yeah. Isn't that really what we're trying to do here? I mean, we've had quite a few meetings with the Awaken Roadshow, and we've done talks for people, but what we've realised is that really what we need to be doing more is doing less of talking and more of including.
Yes, that is right. I think when we are doing that roadshow and we're going somewhere, we must leave space for people to discuss this afterwards, because you can drown people in information as well.
Yeah.
So my idea is just to give short presentations who highlight the problems we have, because you cannot solve a problem if you don't know there is one.
Exactly.
So that is what the roadshow is about. To say we have a problem, and then give out some information, what we have come up with, and add maybe a leaflet with links where they can inform themselves, and then leave space so that the people can discuss if they want to come together, if they want to keep it going locally. Yeah. So that's what is the roadshow should inspire. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then the people in that location, they can decide what they do. If they want a further extensive presentation on, let's say, alternative energy, or in different money systems, whatever they want to do, they can invite people who may be already in our movement and have some knowledge, and share that knowledge with that group in a more extensive way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they also can maybe arrange, talking about solutions or how do we proceed in case this whole thing comes down? We have to leave the euro, or we don't get any funding anymore, and
Yeah.
So that they are not in fear, but they are working towards a solution amongst themselves and said, what we do here in this small spot, to continue our life and to make our life better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say that it's been great meeting the likes of yourself and many others, because I mean it's you just don't get to meet such individual types of people with such different varying viewpoints very often, and I wasn't even supposed to be going to the Bog Hill Centre myself, to be honest with you. It was I more or less said, look, I can't go, I can't afford to go, and that there was something put in place to make sure that I could go. And very grateful for that. And it's after creating such an incredible a precedent. By no means, again, we'll say that the people who went to the Bog Hill, that doesn't mean that everything comes out of Bog Hill. Would you agree with that?
Oh, surely not. I mean, that was inspiring, and it brought us together, and we saw that we were working on a common goal, because people coming from so many different backgrounds, and all these backgrounds are needed, are, let's say, like a puzzle. They are parts in the puzzle, and like permaculture, renewable energies, agroforestry, engineering, economics, people coming from all these different backgrounds, and they made the contribution, and all of that is needed to create something new, a better Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
And the spirit we had there in Bockhill, that though we come from all different directions, we can work together on this
Mm-hmm.
without dominating each other or trying to. That is great.
I've
and
never seen that before.
Has to be continued. I mean, in the activist community in Ireland, it has to spread this way of cooperation, because then we can take the other issues on board,
Absolutely.
like oil and gas and maybe the Shell to Sea or whatever. We can work together.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's very difficult to get anything done when you feel very isolated, Rudy, up in the northwest of Ireland, or up in, over in the west of Sligo or Mayo, or, down in Waterford or Wexford or wherever, Cork, wherever you may be. The power is in the numbers for sure, because there's so much more you can do if you have some sort of consensus agreement on the more vital issues. And, you can just leave groups off to their own individual stuff in their own area. If we just get the more vital stuff right first, and then we can get down to, the smaller stuff, even though at the moment nothing seems to be very small, everything seems to be a big deal. But you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I hope that I understand you correctly, but...
Yeah, it's...
I think it's very important that all the groups forget about their divisions. And, when you look at the party system we have at the moment, that is exactly how they want us to work. I mean, I was involved in parties for a long time in my life, and I have realized just in the past couple of years that being involved in political parties is splitting the people,
sure,
creating divisions, which are actually not there. We all want the same. We want a decent, meaningful, fulfilled life. And not only the people in Ireland want that, people all over the globe want the same.
Sure.
But the powers, they split us. They split us through different ideologies, through parties, through social status, and we have to overcome that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Working on the tribal aspect of our nature, exciting the tribal aspect, which is, and don't get me wrong, I love hurling. Hurling is probably one of the most vicious games there is out there. You can slap the legs off somebody and get away with it without even getting a ticket, but, that's what is after happening to the Irish people, that we're so caught up in rugby and hurling and soccer and, football and even watching cricket now. We've got a cricket team now. It's you go into a pub and there's just matches on all day, every day.
The distractions are everywhere.
Yeah, that's correct. But the reality is a very, very good teacher. And the reality which we are in now makes many people think. I mean, unfortunately, the fear factor is such a big one, because everyone is in fear about his job, about his mortgage, how he can get on. And the fear is the big point. We have to leave that behind, and we have to realize how powerful we really are.
Well, that's really what it's all about.
That is the point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
basically,
and we are very powerful, and we can create our own future if we put our minds to it and leave the fear behind and said, come on, let's discuss what we can do everywhere in Ireland. Let's discuss it and implement it in the society.
Yeah, we are the power, basically. We fuel the corporations that a lot of people say, they control us, but we actually fuel them at the end of the day.
That is correct, yeah. And we do it because we are fearful. I mean, if you are in a society which is violent, I don't say that Ireland is violent, but in principle, at the moment the society we're living in is violent, then of course people have fear. I mean, you talked about the police arming themselves now for riots. I mean, that the people notice that. I mean, people know it. So they are in fear of the courts, they are in fear of the police, you know. But we have to bring these people around to side with us.
Yeah.
Because they have basically the same interests. They are human beings.
Yeah, absolutely, Rudy. Absolutely, you know. It all comes down to that. It's just getting the ego out of the way is the biggest problem that we face, I think, and everyone suffers with that, and judgment of other people, and fear of other people forcing their agendas on you, and that's what puts up the walls. And if we could just try our best, each and every one of us, to avoid that from happening, it makes things a lot easier to try and get some sort of movement up and running.
Yeah, look, the movement is, well, we are part of it. We are not the movement. We are part of it. I mean, it's happening all over the place. People get together. There are so many initiatives like Vote No, the National Platform, you name it. There are so many initiatives out there. I regard this all as the movement. Somehow we are all connected, though we might probably not know it.
Yeah.
But it's all going in the same direction. People are not putting up with it any longer. And they are forced into that.
Yeah.
I think many people even, they don't want it, but they are forced into that. So that is the prospect. We have to let go of our
fears,
individualism, our egos, and just say, look, we are in this together. Not in the way that the government says, in our way, in the people's way.
Yeah.
And we have to try to create something new.
And so that's why the Awaken Movement, Ireland's Future, Bog Hill, Inspiration, all that stuff, and all the other groups, that's why it's all about looking for solutions as much as possible, rather than just pointing out the fear-based stuff that's there,
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you must have a dream of how you want how the society should like you want to live in. If you don't have that dream, well, then you cannot go forward.
Yeah.
And I think that is important, that we hold on to that, and that we find ways. How can we make that happen?
Yeah.
And that is positive. How can we make our dreams come true? I mean, I'm not idealistic. I mean, there will always be compromises and things, but we have to find ways to implement it, at least some of it.
Rudy, it's been absolutely wonderful talking to you. Thanks very much for coming on the show. Maybe past your bedtime. I know you have to keep your beauty sleep, a regular night.
Not just Rudy. Me too.
Yeah, that's the way it is,
Yeah.
We're going to have to sign off there now with you, because we have another very interesting man coming on, Barry Callahan from Awaken Dublin. Is going to be on to entertain us very shortly.
I'm looking forward to hear him now when he comes on.
Good stuff. Okay, Rudy, we'll see you soon. We'll be down in Cork very shortly, I'm sure, for one of the meetings down there, and we're down on the May 17th, as far as I know, is the next meeting. Is that correct?
I haven't checked the Facebook site yet. Maybe it's on there already. I was too busy editing, the website.
Plug your website there, please, before you go.
Pardon?
Have a plug with your website before you go.
Yeah, well, I'm putting information out there. Try to put information out, all various stuff, and that is the newsbeaconireland.info.
.info.
There you have it, folks. Newsbeacon Ireland.
Yeah.
.info.
Yeah.
Rudy, thank you very much. Good night.
Yeah, thanks talking to you.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice sleep once all this is finished.
Okay.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.
And we have Barry Callahan on the phone. You're very welcome to the show, Barry.
Thank you, James. Good morning. How are you?
I'm not too bad. You can hear us okay there, can you?
Yeah, okay, yeah. Everything seems to be fine.
Okay. We're just going to have to get used to the settings here tonight. It's our first show, so it's really very much a trial run, and there's a lot of fiddling going on there with the sound disc to make sure that the levels and stuff are all right. So if you can't hear us, just or if we're too loud, don't be afraid to speak up and say it to us. So,
yeah, no, that's fine.
So Barry, I know you only a short time really. Met you down in the Bog Hill, and he came over and he broke my hand with the handshake he gave me.
Yeah, that's right. We met at the Bog Hill Centre in Clare. Amazing how we all ended up down there together from all walks of life and across the country.
Yeah.
It's a very unique time, I think, in our lives.
Yeah.
Because of what's going on in this country and indeed around the world today.
Absolutely.
I mean, I was a raging capitalist, James. I was never radical. I was never a protester. I have a family, and my number one priority was the euro or the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
And I did whatever I could to earn as much of that as possible.
Yeah.
You were a very successful businessman, Barry, weren't you? Or you still
yes.
are, I take it.
No, you're right. Past tense, I was. I was very successful. I was in the hospitality trade in Dublin, and I had a couple of pubs, and I went on to develop some apartments, and I had a very good career. I worked my way up from the time I was 15, working in Dublin, and my family are from Meath originally, so, like many families, we were told, if you work hard, be honourable, pay your way and keep your head down, everything will be fine.
You will receive your rewards for it.
Indeed, and you would receive your rewards, and you would grow, and nothing will go too far wrong. You'll have your ups and downs and your trials and tribulations in life, but nothing would go too far wrong if you stuck to these simple rules. I developed relationships with banks in a professional capacity when I set up my own business when I was 26, which is about 17 years ago, and we worked very well together. We worked very hard, and I had an excellent relationship with my bank, and everything was fine. Well, apart from the fact that I was working so hard, I was never at home that much, and a long story short, I did make mistakes. I did overstretch myself around 2007, and I basically had to liquidate whatever assets I had, as the banks had called in their loans.
Yeah.
I had tried working with them. I didn't ignore them, nor did I abdicate any of my responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And I was well aware of the risks that were involved in going into business for yourself.
Yeah.
You take the good with the bad. I mean, it seems quite strange, explaining this, because these are the normal things that entrepreneurs do. You celebrate the good times and you take the good with the bad. When things go bad, you pick yourself up, dust yourself down, and keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened in banks called in the loans, I got into difficulty. I did overstretch myself, and I did make mistakes, James.
Mm.
I didn't have, although it was a very difficult time, and was for a couple of years after it, during the middle of all this, I'd probably given back the banks about 4 million euros.
Right.
I had lost or sold my home, depending on your point of view.
To honour the bank?
To what bank?
To honour the bank, I presume?
Oh yeah, to honour the bank. This is the whole thing. Yeah, to honour my debts. As I said, I didn't abdicate any of my responsibilities. I took responsibility for things when they went well, and I was certainly going to take responsibility for things when they went bad.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's not the way we're all brought up, most of us anyway.
It is, yeah.
Mm.
It is. You work hard. I mean, it's a very simple, and it has been a very successful way of doing business for many years. Mm-hmm. Henry Ford went bust a couple of times. John Deere, who invented a lot of agricultural equipment, obviously plows and tractors and whatnot, he went bust a couple of times. you know, but you get up and you dust yourself down and you keep going, you know.
It's all part and parcel of being successful, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, WD-40 is called that because WD-40 means water displacement 40th attempt. Because the first 39 times it didn't work.
Very good.
Yeah.
You know, so these are the things that you know, we have to take on board. You know, Thomas Edison, you know, somebody said to him, you know, oh, you failed 1,000 times how to make a light bulb. And he said, no, I didn't. He said, I found 1,000 ways not how to make a light bulb.
Exactly. Every problem has a solution waiting to happen.
Yeah, you just, you know, you keep stock taking and you keep reviewing what you're doing and you keep, you know, you seek professional advice and you know, you try and do the best you can one day at a time.
And then you get shafted by the professional advice.
Then you get shafted by the professional advice, but only after you've paid them first.
That's it, yeah.
So the banks basically promised you they'd look after you, didn't they, Barry, if you paid them back?
Basically, they had said that if I get them back, the money that was due to them. As I said, I had ran into difficulties and I've overstressed myself, but my basic foundation, my principle in business was sound.
Yeah.
And they said to me, look, if you get us back our money in this particular adventure, you know, we'll leave the door open for you. We'll set up a new line of credit. We'll look after you in any other ideas that you may have, you know. Mm-hmm. And I always had a couple of different ideas cooking. So I liquidated everything that I had, my home, my pensions, some apartments I had put aside for my kids. I explained to my wife, you know, what I needed to do, and unfortunately I did, you know, kind of not listen to her. She was very nervous because obviously it's a family home, and
Yeah.
and I said, look, I've no reason to doubt these people. I've been dealing with them for 15 or 16 years. We've always had an excellent relationship, and we'll be fine. And, you know, I hate to use the word, but I probably did bully her a bit, you know. Mm-hmm. And
but she stood by you and with the decision that you made.
Sure, she did. She stood by me and she understood exactly what I was doing. I mean, we would sit down and, as I said, we would talk a lot. And, you know, I was a bit assertive in my opinions. Mm-hmm. But we would try and talk as much as possible and get through everything and come to an agreement. And after a couple of weeks of discussing these things, we came to the conclusion that it was the right road to go.
Yeah.
And during the midst of paying back all this money, the bank bailout happened, which was quite an extraordinary thing from an entrepreneur's point of view.
I'm sure.
At this stage, I had given them back about 4 million euros. I was out of business. I'd sold, liquidated everything. I'd sold the company. The jobs that I had created, I made sure that I protected them when the companies were taken over by a new owner. Because the jobs I created were proper, sustaining jobs where people earned a good living that they could raise a family on. They weren't speculative, or I didn't use cheap labour or anything.
Right.
And when I paid back the bulk of the money, the bank said to me that their mandate had changed, that upstairs had changed their viewpoint, and that the climate had changed and that they wouldn't be able to assist me anymore. And thank you very much for bringing in the money, and we'll talk to you again.
Okay.
Which was extremely difficult to take. I probably still owed about 500,000 or 600,000 at this stage. I was under severe pressure. I had no income. And then, as I said, the bank bailout happened. And I was quite shocked at this. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had taken responsibility for my mistakes, as indeed many people in Ireland would, and still do. But all of a sudden the bank get bailed out. And it was a very upsetting time, a very stressful time.
Yeah.
we were renting a home. My kids were but at that stage they were still in private school, but I had no income, and my savings, or our savings, were running dry, and I was constantly trying to get in touch with the people. Nobody would speak to me, and we had to cut our losses, and we had to, we took the kids out of private school and we put them into a local secondary school, which turned out actually to be a miracle. It turned out to be a great thing, certainly for the kids anyway, and for their education.
Okay.
But to try and keep this as the message, if any, that I want to get across tonight, the banks pulled the plug from under me.
Mm-hmm.
If I succeed in business, that's fine, okay? If I make vast profits, it belongs to me, my company, and my family. If I fail, I have to take responsibility for that. As difficult as it is, James,
mm-hmm.
but I cannot abdicate any responsibility that I have, and nor can I, turn away from negativity. I have to deal with these things. Mm-hmm. But in the midst of all this, there's a bank bailout. Okay? Now basically what this means is the banks failed. They were insolvent. They could no longer trade.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They were in breach of, their regulatory obligations in what they're supposed to trade. Now how they're supposed to trade. Now we could talk about regulations all night. It's been proven since that, there was very little regulation. There was no regulator.
Apparently a German economist was over here and he was going through the system in place, and he discovered that the legislation that was in place to control the banking financial sector was actually taken out to allow for the funding that they got and to cover up the laws that were broken as well.
Yeah, the old regulatory laws were relaxed so that, in America they called it the Glass-Steagall Act, where banks couldn't trade, or they couldn't, that their liquidity, they could only borrow or lend. If they had 100 quid, they could only lend a maximum of 1,000 euros,
mm-hmm.
Whereas with the new regulations that came in, if they had 100 quid or 100 euros, they could lend up to 100,000 on the strength of that,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which, needless to say, doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. But what I've been told as well from a very reliable source, Barry, is that the banks were told, the regulatory bodies were told, that by this German economist that was over here as a consultant from Germany, to say that you are in serious trouble if you continue to behave the way that you are. He was ignored. He went to the Garda Síochána. He was said, sure, look, it's grand. That's just the way things are done over in this country. Don't worry about it. He went to the top levels of the regulatory bodies in Ireland and told the same thing. Just turn a blind eye to it. And the legislation was then changed that was in place in Ireland very recently, only a couple of years ago, to actually hide the fact that serious laws were broken that would have imposed a pretty hefty prison sentence on the people who were responsible.
Some of the trading laws were changed retrospectively and backdated to cover previous, wrongs done by the bank.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, in 2005 or 2006 or whenever the regulator came over, the German economist. I mean, nobody wants to hear these things. They wouldn't listen. I mean, Maria McKenzie, the Department of Finance official who has been, sprung loose today, the whistleblower, who's come forward with thousands of emails, documents, files, where she was constantly warning the then Minister for Finance, Brian Cowen, about, this can't last, it's going to explode. And she was told to go away.
Yeah.
Go away, this is great, we're all having a party, everybody's having a ball, we're all making money, the builders are making money, the politicians are making money, the revenues in the country are in. But it was credit built on credit built on credit. There was no sustenance in it. There was no weight behind it,
Yeah.
And You can't do that. You can't build a country on a property bubble. We have to have something far more sustainable than property. But this is in hindsight. Hindsight is a wonderful thing.
So this is a solutions-based show, and you are offering people solutions because you had to end up in the courts yourself, didn't you, Barry, to be able to protect you and your family from further ruin, even though you'd already lost everything?
I did, yeah. It was a very difficult time, as I said, and I was battling. I was getting letters from bank creditors day in, day out. I was afraid to open the post. All the traditional fears that people perhaps are going through today: anxiety, stress, self-loathing. Where have I gone wrong? Why have this bank walked away from me? What's gone wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And then, as I said earlier on, the bailout happened, and I woke up one morning, James, and I just said, that's it. I said, no more. I am not going to become a victim anymore,
Yeah.
I said, they got bailed out. I didn't get bailed out. Why is my family, or indeed anybody's family, worth less than a bank?
Mm-hmm.
This is not about two wrongs don't make a right, James. This is about the moral issues. This is about faceless corporations and families suffering, right? So the argument of two wrongs don't make a right doesn't hold water, and that's all I'll say about that particular matter, right? Mm-hmm. But the banks, they got bailed out. They made huge, massive profits for years. I don't have a problem with that. But then when they run their companies into the ground and can't trade anymore and have to go to Dáil Éireann on a Tuesday night, in the middle of the night, and tell the government that if you don't give us money, lads, or if you don't give us a bank guarantee, we won't be able to open up in the morning. Mm-hmm. And it's, it since transpires that, the figures that they gave the government at that stage were false and incorrect. Mm-hmm. And that the problems were far worse than they first declared to the government. Mm-hmm. So, in conclusion, families, me, we're worth more than corporations. Why should I bend over backwards, be pawning my watch, selling my wife's jewellery, selling pictures, paintings, anything that's not nailed down, cars, going to boot sales, trying to dump things to raise cash to pay off banks, when they don't have to operate in the same guidelines.
And while top bankers get bonuses for running their organisations into the ground.
Indeed, I mean, Richie Boucher in Bank of Ireland, he's on €820,000 a year today.
I don't know how anybody could live on that. It's so little.
Yes, €16,200 a week, Paul. It's not easy. I'm sure on a Thursday he'd have to get a sub of 20 quid, to keep it going to Friday.
Well, I definitely couldn't manage on that, Barry. No chance.
No, indeed. And I mean, his company, today, I think their AGM is in UCD on Tuesday morning. The share price on Friday was 12 cents, which is a reflection on the way the company's been run, obviously. And they posted losses of €190 million, and they posted an impairment in their accounts of €2 billion.
€2 billion.
All right.
Wow.
Now, guys, with all due respect, to me, if something is impaired, it's broken, right? So rather than posting a loss of €2.19 billion, they decided to post a loss of €190 million and set aside €2 billion as an impairment.
Could you explain what an impairment is?
Well, it's the bank speak or accountant spin for loans that aren't working, that they're not getting paid on loans, they're impaired, they're broken, they're not going to get paid on them. It's money out there. It's accounts that basically aren't working as agreed with the customers. They don't have the money to pay them.
It's like pre-bad debt loans, is it?
Yeah, it's bad debt. It will be written off, but they don't want to declare it as a write-off or a bad debt or a loss yet because it'll look bad in the media. Mm-hmm. But impaired is broken. If you have a hearing aid and it's impaired, it's not working.
Sure.
So they can dress it up with spin and accountancy and all this kind of, mm-hmm. Financial speak, and that's the problem today. They try and make everything so complicated.
Yeah.
I mean, AIB shares on Friday were 7 cents each.
Wow.
7 cents. Mm-hmm. But the guy running AIB gets 800 grand a year. Mm-hmm. And Mike Ansley, who runs Anglo-Irish or IRBC or whatever you want to call it, or
Evict Ireland Incorporated.
Evict Ireland Corporation, yeah. He gets 820 grand a year, the same as Boucher, and his
Nuts.
company is not even, and his company's not even a bank. It's not even able to trade.
Yeah.
It's they're winding it up,
And come here, and that leads me on to the next thing, Barry. Before we get to the courts, because it's important to stay on point.
Sure.
You actually went and you gave a visit to the most recent high-profile eviction.
I did, yeah, to Brendan and Asta Kelly, yeah. I was listening to them being interviewed by Pat Kenny, and I'd heard that Brendan was living in a tent outside his home, and that it was quite cold at night.
Yeah, I know all about that.
I had a sleeping bag in the car, so I decided, I live in Blackrock, they're up in Killiney, so I decided to drive up and show my support and offer him a sleeping bag, which he was very glad to take. And we had a chat, and I went up for 15 minutes, and I spent about an hour and a half there, James. And very sad situation, very difficult. Brendan is 71. His wife Asta, I think, is about 68, and lovely, normal couple,
Yeah. And let me tell you that there's been awful rumours going around the internet that these people deserved to be evicted from their home. What would be your impression of that rumour?
Yeah, I saw a lot of the vile comments that have been passed around by them. Well, first of all, can I say that one of the issues that we have today, James, is our media, okay? And if you remember Thursday's Irish Independent, when this couple were evicted on Wednesday, and it was Thursday's Irish Independent was, poor Brendan, poor Asta, this is dreadful, Anglo-Irish Bank throwing these people out in the street, offering them lots of sympathy and lots of support, and a 2-page spread inside the paper. And then on Friday, the Irish Independent hung them out to dry.
Yeah.
And threw them to the wolves, basically. And these people had 21 apartments, and they're this, that, and the other, and they're landlords and all this kind of stuff. I don't know Brendan or Asta's personal financial situation. I can only assume that it's pretty bad. Okay? Mm-hmm. So there's nothing wrong with success, and there's nothing wrong with failure. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, if I doubt very much that a 71-year-old man and his wife would choose to go through what they went through on Wednesday for a bit of sport.
Yeah, hardly.
It just,
yeah.
Whatever they have, whatever they're going through, right? Whether they're, how they're portrayed and the venomous things that have been said about them, that they've 21 apartments and they've this, that, and the other. We don't know the facts. I called up to them from a moral, human point of view, right? The bottom line here is that nobody wants to get thrown out of their home like that, have the guards on their driveway, to be manhandled by a bailiff or a sheriff who certainly, could do with losing a few pounds if he's going to be doing that crack. But nobody chooses that. So, but look, you're always going to get people who will give out and moan, and usually it's people that perhaps don't know what's going on or have never been in a situation like that before.
Yeah, and tell me, Barry, is it true that this couple went for a walk and came back to find that they couldn't enter their premises again, that they were basically barricaded away from the premises by private security guards as well as...
Yeah, there's 2 security guards living in the house. They are unable to get their deodorant, toothbrush, change of clothes, socks, pair of shoes. They're not allowed into the house at all, which is wrong, obviously, and not only from a moral point of view, but from a legal point of view. I mean, is the sheriff now stealing their personal goods? Is it, what are we talking about here? Is it,
But see, the sheriff doesn't have any jurisdiction. This is the thing now. Ben Gilroy didn't make this up. It is in our constitution. It does say that the home is inviolable as to law. It does say that, and that's not in the Blue Book, but it's in the original translation of the Gaelic. So it's very important to not ignore this fact, and that the powers that be, they seem to be ignoring the Constitution. So why do we even have one if that's the case? Is it just there to placate the Irish people, to keep them happy, or is there real value in the Constitution? I like to think that there is.
Well, there is real value in the Constitution, but like everything, James, unless we need it, none of us pay any heed to it. 10 years ago, I didn't know anything about the Constitution, I'll be honest with you, because I never needed it. It never came up.
Yeah, same here.
I never required, I never looked for sympathy, I never looked for anything. And, I mean, again, the bottom line here is that these people should never have been put out of their home. That's their family home, all right? Whatever problems that, Anglo and Mr. and Mrs. Kelly had in their negotiations should have continued. That's why they're called negotiations. Mm-hmm. They don't always go well for both parties. But you cannot put somebody out of their family home. Mm-hmm. Now, you and I haven't seen the paperwork. We haven't seen their accounts. We don't know what it is. But certainly from what we saw, the way they were handled, the way they were put out of their home, when I called up to them, and I spoke to these people, and they're just decent, normal, ordinary people. This couple were in Germany for 23 years, had a very successful business in Germany, and came home here in 2000 and invested it in Ireland. Mm-hmm. And, they did, when they bought the house in 2004, they were going to sell 2 apartments to finance it, and their bank told them, you don't need to sell it, keep the 2 apartments, sure, we'll give you the money,
Yeah.
But nobody can prove that because it's all talk. I mean, we'll talk about going to court in a second and the contracts, the loans that were signed and this, that, and the other. But everybody was making so much money during the boom, and money was so readily available. It was guys ringing you up if they had the remotest idea that you were anyway successful at all. Mm-hmm. Do you want a loan? Sign, the contracts were being signed in kitchens, on the boot of a car, in car parks, pub counters, hotels, restaurants.
Yeah. Barry, can we put you on pause for a second? I just want to give the listeners a quick break because we've been talking half an hour. You wouldn't believe how quickly the time flies in an interview situation,
Sure, absolutely.
We're just going to play a track. It's about 5 minutes long, and we can continue talking in the background, and we'll bring you back in then to talk to our listeners again. So, Barry, you weren't on in. Sorry, the mic was actually off there. Could you just go back a few paces there? Sorry. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Well, basically what happened was that at this stage, everything that I had and my family had was gone. Mm-hmm. And I'd been getting letters in the post on a regular basis from banks demanding the money. And, I still owed, even though I paid back about 4 million euros, I still owed 600,000 or 700,000 euros. Mm-hmm. And I was still spinning to my wife and my family that everything was going to be okay and that we'd get back on track. And literally, I had no income. I mean, I was desperate, full of fear, stressed out, trying to sort this out. Have a meeting with banks, and I'd meet with several different bankers who couldn't make a decision. Yet I was the only one that could. And I was tipping my cap at every meeting and being very humble and to no avail. Mm-hmm. So anyway, as I stated earlier on, the bank bailout had happened, and they were capitalists when they were making money, and then they decided to be socialists when they were losing money. So I decided that my family is worth more than a corporation. So we did a budget. We put our family first, and if there was anything left, be it €20 a month or whatever, I would try to pay back my banks, my creditors. Mm-hmm. And obviously they wanted a lot more money than that, and it wasn't good enough, so a couple of cases ended up in court.
Okay.
Well, I couldn't afford any legal representation. Back then we were eating maybe 6 days out of 7. We'd no car. Somebody had given me a car, 200,000 miles on it, and we were trying to keep our kids in school and trying to keep our head above water, mm-hmm. which I was taking in a lot of water at this stage, James, I can tell you.
Yeah, sure.
And so going to court, I'd written to the judges, wrote to the clerks in the court, Made sure I had all my paperwork, statement of means, my household budget, a record of who I spoke to in the bank, when I spoke to them, copies of letters I'd written to the bank, copies of offers, where possible, that I had made to the banks.
Yeah.
And I had no legal representation, and I put myself at the mercy of the courts, which sounds very dramatic, but I think I learned that a court is a judge is there to adjudicate between two sides. Unfortunately, it's not about justice.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about the system, the legal system, and that funny language that they speak, which, I know it's English, but it's not the same English as you and I.
Yeah.
So all I could do was just try and keep
legalese.
things... Legalese.
Mm-hmm.
So all I could try and do was keep things very simple and turn up in court and honour the judge and be respectful and just tell her the truth, or him the truth. The truth is always easy to remember.
Yeah.
And
an important point is to stick to what you're saying. Don't change what you're saying, change direction, because they might ask you the same question 10 different ways.
Well, that's it. I mean, a barrister gets paid either way. If a barrister's there on behalf of the bank, if he wins or loses a case, he still gets paid. Whereas when you're there, it is actually, your reputation, what you say, and if they're not happy with your answer to a question, they will ask you the same question a different way, try and bully you into expanding your answer, and therefore trying to trip you up.
Mm-hmm. As you said, Barry, the truth is easier to remember.
Indeed, the truth is easy to remember, and if you're doing the best you can, I mean, you're morally and legally obliged to take care of your dependents.
Sure.
Okay?
That's an important point for people to hear, really.
Mm-hmm.
It is, yeah. It's in part 6 of the, if they go into, www.circuitcourt.ie or, look up the circuit through the government websites or whatever.
Yeah, courts.ie.
Courts.ie.
Yeah.
They go, download a circuit court statement of means. Nothing to be afraid of. You fill it out. And, part 6 of this tells you that you're legally and morally obliged. It asks the question, dependents or people that you are legally or morally obliged to take care of.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Now, again, James, this isn't about abdicating responsibility. It's about telling the truth. And people talk about debt forgiveness and moral hazard and all this kind of stuff, and that people who are strokers or scammers might jump on board and take advantage of debt forgiveness. Well, that simply won't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because, the tools are there to help people if they pick them up. Mm. I didn't know they were there. I had to go looking for them, right? And
I'm sure a lot of other people in that situation would be embarrassed and would be afraid to talk to friends, relatives, or other people who could maybe help them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Fear is a dreadful thing.
Yeah.
I mean, fear destroyed our lives for a couple of years, and anxiety and stress and pride and ego. Let's be honest, okay? It was very, very difficult. And, but basically, I just kept things simple. As I said, we did a budget. We contacted, I wrote to everybody and asked them for a reply, and I kept records of everybody that I'd written to, copies of letters, copies of everybody that I spoke to. They would ring you, 9 or 10 times a day, or use, debt collection agencies, but I wouldn't deal with them because I'd no contract with a debt collection agency.
A third party, yeah.
A third party, yeah. I mean, if you have a debt for 26 grand with MBNA or something like that, MBNA may sell that for 2,600 quid, might sell it for 10% to a debt collector, right? Just to get some money in. And Interim Adjuster or some, whatever. There's a lot of different companies out there, and I just wouldn't tolerate them. I had no contract with them. I didn't know at the time what I was talking about, if that makes any sense. But I just said, look, who are you? I didn't deal with you. I deal with MBNA, or I was dealing with Bank of Ireland or whatever, and I didn't give them any truck at all in conclusion. I just dismissed them out of hand and see whatever happens. But
you followed your heart, and it was in the right place.
Yeah, you just follow your heart and listen to your stomach. Your stomach is a wonderful indicator.
Mm-hmm.
You you get that doubt. You know if you walk into a place and if it doesn't feel right, generally speaking, it's not right.
Very true. Very true. So, what were the documents that you asked for, Barry?
Well, what I would do was when I was in the box, and as I said, it's nerve-wracking, and the judgment court is pretty busy these days. So you've got to stand up there on your lonesome, particularly when you've no legal representation, and present yourself to the judge. And the judge, the barrister, would get up and he asked me, for why haven't I paid back this money, or to recognise the loan, or what am I going to do? And the judge at the start would be a bit hard with me, saying why are you here and all this kind of stuff. And I explained, that I had these loans, and things are very tough, and I'm not able to pay them back. You might be in a situation where, like I was, where they wanted 200 quid a month, and I offered them 20 quid a month, and they said it wasn't enough. Mm-hmm. That's how you end up in court. So while we're in court, I asked the barrister for a copy of the loan contract, the original one that I signed. Mm-hmm. No, I had mine, and I showed the judge that I had mine, and the barrister was very upset about this, and he said, Mr. Callahan is prevaricating and wasting time, and he knows this loan is his, sure isn't he here? Mm-hmm. And I said to the judge, I said, with respect, Your Honour, I said, during the boom years I had a lot of loans, and I just want to make sure this says I know what loan we're talking about here. And I would ask them just for a simple contract of the loan that I signed, which is very infuriating to the barristers, James.
Mm-hmm. But it's a very honest angle to come from, Barry.
Yeah, but it's very straightforward. I mean, at the time, I wasn't aware of a lot of the information that's out there today, but but I just asked for a copy of the contract. I have mine. I just need to see the bank's copy. Thanks very much. And once we, match the agreement numbers, we move on from there. And for some reason, the banks always have a team of 6. I don't know whether 6 is a magic number or an alien number or what kind of number it is, but they always seem to have quite a lot of people with them in court. And there was a lot of frustration on the bench, and the barrister was shouting at me and trying to bully me and break me down, and I continued with my line that I just want to see a copy of the contract. And I also was very conscious, James, that I didn't want to upset the judge either. Yeah. So I was very humble and apologetic in my attitude towards the court, respectful. Mm-hmm. And the judge ruled that I was entitled to see the paperwork that I'd signed to make sure that it was the correct loan. Mm-hmm. And the bank couldn't produce it.
Why is that, Barry?
Because they've no idea where that paperwork is, James. They have no idea where that paperwork is. They've either sold it, lost it, contracts were signed on the back of it in kitchens or in cars or in car parks or in pubs or in hotel restaurants. Or, they've no idea where that paperwork is. They can't produce it. They're terrible at paperwork. Banks. It turns out actually that the banks are not infallible. Apparently, only the Pope is. Whereas everybody thought the banks would have excellent paperwork, and they don't. Mm-hmm.
And they were raking in the money, the profits there during the boom times, and they just, they didn't foresee what was going to happen starting 2008, did they?
No, they didn't. And even the few people that did try and warn them, this lady who came clean today, the whistleblower in the Department of Finance, that German economist who visited Ireland, mm-hmm. and who tried to advise the government, Dave McWilliams, was, writing from 2003. Mm-hmm. Nobody would listen. But listen, I didn't listen either. Yeah. Just, and the banks were making huge profits. They were, I was taking out loans. And if your loan is big enough to take out, obviously they have their own insurance on it. They'll securitize it. I take a loan off from James, I pay you back at 6%, and then you sell the loan. You bundle a load of them together and sell them off to raise more capital. Mm-hmm.
And that's another point, that they never actually, that's part of contract law, they never asked your permission to sell on the contract, did they?
No. But this only came out afterwards in the Wall Street Journal and the Financial Times about securitization when Lehman Brothers collapsed and what they were doing. And, you know, when things were getting desperate and really bad, the subprime mortgages, even the bad loans that weren't or were never going to get paid.
Guys, sorry about that. We actually had an IP switch addressed there and we had to reboot the system there. I'm very sorry about that. Barry, you still there?
Yes, alive and kicking. How are you? Good morning again. We're back.
We're back again. Teething problems, but we'll have to get that sorted for next week. There's an IP switch made a mess of the whole thing. So we're back again live on tnsradio.com, and we've got Barry Callahan here. And Barry was just wrapping up the story because we want to play a little track there. It's an amazing piece of music there from Temperamental Miscellaneous after Barry's finished. So we will finish with that. But Barry, could you just finish up quickly this last couple of minutes of your story, please?
So basically, when I went to court, I asked for a copy of the contract of the loans that I had, and the barristers weren't able to produce them. The judge decided that to go away and produce the banks. She told the banks to go away and find the paperwork, and the barristers generally insisted on dealing with the case there and then. This would infuriate the judge, and at one stage we were sent outside to the lobby to come to some agreement. So I went outside to talk to the bank, and I was having a cigarette on the steps outside and getting ready to speak with them, and they almost knocked me down leaving. So the conclusion was, James, that they didn't have the paperwork. I went back into court.
Yeah.
Was recalled, and the judge dismissed the case.
Right. Okay. He dismissed the case.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quite incredible. It was because obviously I had expected the worst. Human nature being what it is, you know, if somebody mentions court, you automatically think you're going to be taken down in chains.
Yeah.
We do forget that the judge is there to adjudicate between two people and decide what is the fairest conclusion. And I must say that I've had, you know, nothing but even in cases that I've lost or cases that I've won, the outcome is the same because I don't have any money. Because when I pointed out when we were talking earlier on with Paul, if you know, the truth is easy to remember. You know, and you know, if you put your faith, if you do things correctly, if you put your family first, do a budget, find out where you stand, and bring all the relevant information to court, no matter how you may think it's trivial. Let somebody else decide what's trivial and what not in a court of law. You know.
Yeah.
And so 3 or 4 years later, I'm still here. Proof there's life after death. DEPT.
I can vouch for that. I saw you live in the flesh, in the person.
Oh, that's very good. Yes, I'm not a figment of our imagination.
No, no.
You can exist, and you can. Life does go on. I mean, look, guys, it was very difficult. All right. I am a strong individual, but even so, I did find times that I was lying on my bed in the afternoon in the fetal position, wondering what the hell has gone wrong.
Sure.
But I just made a checklist, and the important thing for me this morning, talking to you guys and to your listeners, is to remember there's a human side to this, okay?
Okay.
And people must realise that it's okay to put themselves first. You know, it's okay to take care of yourself. If you can't take care of yourself, how are you supposed to take care of others?
Exactly.
Right? You know, you can't do that. It's impossible. You know, and we will judge and knock and criticise our government every day because they don't know where we're doing. But how many of us actually know what we're doing or where we stand financially on a weekly basis? You know,
exactly.
So,
Barry, the government's only a reflection of we the people. You know, and if we're running around like headless chickens, well, you can be damn sure the government's going to be doing something similar.
Oh, no question, no question. So what people need to do is to do a budget. All right, they need to do a budget, find out where they stand, put their families first, right? And unfortunately, I'm sure a lot of them would have to impose their own brand of austerity on their banks and creditors. Because banks will get bailed out. There seems to be no end of money for banks. but there's not enough money for schools or hospitals,
Yeah.
or the Gardaí, or the health and welfare of the nation, or the disadvantaged in society.
Yeah.
Which is just, I mean, it's wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some, the latest figures that I have here, our foreign debt is 1.7 trillion euro. Right?
Okay.
Our gross domestic product is 0.2 trillion euro. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we turn over 0.2 trillion euro, right? And we have a shortfall of 1.5 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's a percentage of foreign debt to gross domestic product of 1,093%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and that's the source of that is the Bank of International Settlements.
Yeah, but that has been kept very secret. I've only discovered that myself in the last couple of months. There is, a lot of secrecy around the Bank of International Settlements.
Well, see, you're not supposed to know about the Bank of International Settlements, James. Neither am I, neither is anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
It's only because of people being pushed and pushed and pushed, and their pockets being emptied every day, that people are desperately looking for answers. Mm-hmm. Which is how we came around to this Awaken Ireland, and how people from all walks of life ended up in Bog Hill in County Clare.
Mm-hmm.
But the important thing that people must realise is that, it's okay to make a mistake.
Yeah.
And it's okay, it's okay to be successful, and it's okay to fail. And, fear and anxiety and stress must be, got rid of today. It's no use to you. It can't feed you. It won't keep you warm. It won't give you a place to sleep at night. The only thing it'll do is destroy you. Mentally,
Paralyze you.
physically, and emotionally.
Yeah. Absolutely. So can you talk about just the Bog Hill and how that affected you that weekend?
Oh, that was an incredible weekend. I mean, it was. I mean, as I said, I'm a roaring capitalist. I never went anywhere near anything like that before. I think through the internet, or through an economics website, I met somebody who invited me down and asked would I attend, and I said yeah, sure. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 3 days. And it was, what can I say? It changed my life. I had been a lone wolf. I had been fighting this battle on my own, and trying to find people to relate to. And I have a lot of issues with government, and I would have been contacting TDs prior to this, and I thought I was paddling this canoe on my own. It turned out that there's many people in Ireland who are like-minded and want to reach out to others and try and stop them suffering and look for a new way of doing things, because clearly the system is broken.
Yeah. And
if it's not broken, it has certainly been hijacked by the few, to impose poverty on the many.
Mm-hmm.
That might sound a bit dramatic, but they're the facts.
Seems to be that's the way it is,
Yeah, it can't be disputed. But Bog Hill was wonderful, and out of Bog Hill I met some wonderful people, and we've remained close and discussed ideas, and we've had, in I think 6 weeks, I think we've had 5 meetings.
Mm-hmm.
There's Awaken Longford, there's Awaken Mayo, Awaken Cork, Awaken Kerry, Awaken Dublin, Awaken Wicklow, and just trying to put, a lot of different presentations across, a lot of new ideas across, and trying to get people to interact and to meet people in the community, and try and say to them, look, you're not on your own, and we're here, and, we're amateurs, we're just trying to get together and just to provide an alternative for people.
Yeah. So, it's, again, this is a solutions-based show. So your solution is to ask for the contract, ask for the deeds if you end up in court. But let's try and stop people getting to court. That there is a post up on the tnsradio.com site, the official offer. And the official offer is a very powerful document. I've used it myself in the last 6 months to great effect. And it's very simple. You mentioned earlier there in the interview, Barry, that the bank wanted €200 a month off you, and you made an offer of 20, and they said that wasn't good enough. And what was actually happening there was that you made an offer, they made a counter offer, and you didn't accept the counter offer. Okay.
Well, if you're telling the truth, if your statement of means is made out, I mean, what they will do, James, is they will write to you several times, and you'll get bogged down in paperwork.
Yeah.
Whereas I learned that, what I did was I would write to them once, I would do my budget, I would write to them once, I would outline my situation. They would continue to write to me, as you said, a counter offer. And I would just write on it, see previous correspondence.
It's the same. You're doing the same thing. You're doing the same thing as the official offer. You just figured it out for yourself.
Yeah, I'm not lying. If you don't, as the judge said, if you don't accept his statement of means, that's a separate issue. That means that you think he's lying.
Yeah. So it's the perjury issue we're talking about here. It's a different thing,
Yeah.
Yeah. So the official offer, let me read it out here, Barry, because it's we're going to tidy up the end of this interview. Thanks very much. It's on the tnsradio.com website. Official offer, mortgage loan overdraft is the title of the post, and it's offered to bank by person to now operate on account, whatever the number is, the amount that you can afford, affected monthly as satisfaction on all account demands / obligations, and you signed by you, okay, and the rear of the paper written across at an angle across the page is official offer, okay. You attach a check made payable to the bank. If you get no response, then the offer has been accepted, so the checks keep going into effect performance on the contract. If a response comes, look at it very carefully. This is where they may try to shift the attention away from the offer in an attempt to get their offer in place. If responded to carefully, this cannot happen. Go check the 7 elements of contract law. Pay particular attention to acceptance. Okay. So Barry, what you did is that you were acting sovereign the whole time there, and that you hadn't learned all the tricks of the trade from everybody else in the truth movement that's been studying the law independently over the last few years. You instinctively knew, your gut told you that tell the truth, be honest, do up a statement of means, make your offer, this is what I can afford to pay and no more, and stick to your guns. And what Vinny and Harry and a few other people have brought together is the official offer, which is just making it more official for people who, really wouldn't be able to come up with a solution like you came up with by yourself.
Yes, I know. Yeah, and what your offer letter of offer does there is save people a lot of time and heartache. Because I didn't find that on the first day. I had to try and figure what the hell, because I went through the whole why aren't they believing me and trying to expand more and. So it does. The letter of offer does cut down a lot of.
It does. I mean, it's great to have
time and hassle and stress and fear.
It's great to have a trailblazer like yourself. I mean, you had to go through terrible hardship, unfortunately, to get to where you are today. But because you've been through that, now you have a story and to show people what not to do. This is not the way to do it.
Yeah, you just keep it simple.
Yeah, keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Tell the truth. Warts and all. There's nothing wrong with making a mistake. Shame. Forget about shame. Fucking terror. Forget about it.
Yeah.
Just put your families first. Do a budget. Contact your creditors. Do the best you can. If it's not good enough, James, there's nothing you can do.
Absolutely.
But one of the things, and it's very important that people, I mean, Facebook is out there with Awaken Ireland. There's a website out there. I'm sure it's up at the moment. I don't know. It could be another
it's Awaken Movement Ireland.com.
Awaken Movement Ireland, and people, can contact, this movement. There's no bosses here. We're all working on this together. And come in and, and ask for help.
Yeah.
Ask for help. If you're in trouble, ask for help. Put your hand up. It's okay. It's okay. And everything will pass, good and bad.
Yeah.
And people need to realize that they're not on their own. And that I'm not some media journalist, who is talking from a theory point of view. My family and I went through this. My children, my dysfunctional golden retriever and my wonderful wife, we went through this and we came out the other end.
Yeah.
And, we're still here.
Absolutely.
And now I know what's important in life today. But, people must learn to put themselves first and, and to question everything. And, to protect their own little corner of their world, Don't reach out to anybody else until you're able to help yourself. And it's very important that people realise that.
Yeah.
Because this will pass, James. And we all have to get on. This crisis will pass. And whatever we're left with at the end of it, whatever that may be, we must ensure that we have a new way of life that we can all, grow responsibly together, and live whatever new life is coming, because things are changing rapidly,
Yeah.
I mean, if I can touch on one or two things.
Go ahead.
There was breaking news this morning, and I don't want to bog people down with figures or blind them with science, and that's, because there's enough of that. But it's very simple, The German Bundesbank, the German central bank, is owed 616 billion euros. Okay? Let me say that again. They're owed 616 billion euros by European Union central banks. Okay? That's countries like Ireland, Spain, Portugal, France, the UK, countries like us, countries like our country, countries that are insolvent, right? In other words, that are bankrupt or in receivership, okay, where austerity is dragging the economy down, countries that are being poorly managed or governed. There's no chance of the European of the German Bundesbank getting this money back. Let's be crystal clear about that. All right, and I'm going to make that a definite statement. I'm sure this thing's been recorded, so you can come back and hit it with me if I'm wrong. Yeah. But there's no way that this money can be paid back. All right, because it's owed by countries that are bankrupt, and austerity is not working. Austerity has never worked. Okay, you cannot solve debt with debt. It has never happened before. It can never happen. It's impossible.
Yeah. Ask the Argentinians. I mean, their economy collapsed back in I think it was the 80s, and the middle class ended up foraging for food in the bins.
That's correct. And the IMF came in and stripped the country, and eventually the Argentinians threw out the IMF, devalued rapidly, and the Argentinians originally tried to peg the peso with the dollar, and it didn't work, and it brought the country down. The IMF came in to rescue them, and the IMF have their own agenda. But Spanish, Italian, and Spain, right? I mean, this is very serious because this all goes back to this fiscal treaty, which we didn't get to talk about tonight, but I'll keep it simple. The Spanish government had a bond auction last week, okay? Say 10 days ago. And they had to offer a return of 5.75% yield on a 10-year government bond. Now that is almost bailout territory, okay? That is a savage price. It's great for the investor, okay? But it's not good for the government. Right? They raised $2.5 billion through that bond auction, which sounds like a lot, but a week later, the same investors are dumping Spanish and Italian bonds. And on Friday, they were even selling French bonds. Investors are not stupid. They don't believe the ECB. They don't believe this European Fiscal Treaty will work. Okay? It doesn't add up. So, I mean, the Wall Street Journal said that Europe needs a firewall. This is on the 11th of April this year. Okay, that Europe needs a firewall of 940 billion euros to protect other countries from economic contagion. Now, how long are we in austerity, James? 3, 4 years?
4 years now.
4 years. Okay. If people are coming up and saying that we need a firewall of 940 billion 4 years later, that's a pretty clear indicator that austerity is not working.
Sure.
So
Barry, we're going to have to wrap it up, man. It's been absolutely fantastic talking to you, and we will have you on the show again in the near future because you're a very busy man, involved with loads of different things and different people in different areas, and debt forgiveness is solutions for debt is your big love, and you want to share that with people, and we'll definitely get regular updates with you in the future, because that's what this show is about. And just to put out there for people as well to understand that there's no strict regime with this show whatsoever, that we'll get anybody on that's trying to build a stronger network of Irish people, whether that's outside of the Awaken Movement. It doesn't matter. It's not about that. It's purely about people looking for solutions and reaching out to other people and growing a stronger network, and that's what it is all about. So Barry, thank you very much, and we're going to leave you there, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much, James. Thank you, Paul. Thanks for having me on the show, and I wish you guys well, and we'll see what tomorrow brings.
That's it. Good night.
Good night, guys. Thank you.
Good night, Barry. Thank you.
Night, Paul.
Just one slight correction there, James. Not just Irish people, but all people.
All people.
All people here in Ireland.
Absolutely. Yes. Of course. Absolutely. Guys, we're going to play you a short audio clip here from an amazing artist, a rap artist, Paul. Would you like to talk a little bit about her?
Temperamental. I don't actually know that much about the girl, actually.
Okay.
Temperamental, miscellaneous.
Yeah, but just give a description of what you've seen, because they won't be able to see the balcony TV video that we're playing the audio from. Just the effect it had on you when you watched her perform and play.
It's the most powerful performance I have ever come across. I think. Just play it, James. I think it's the
okay. Well, that's good enough. That's good enough. That's a few words, all the better. So this is Temperamental, miscellaneous, live on Balcony TV there recently, and she performed for the inauguration of the new president of Ireland. And just give me a moment for this particular video to kick off. Okay,
welcome to Balcony TV from Sweeney's Bar in Dame Street. Joining me on the balcony is Temperamental, miscellaneous.
Rah. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm good.
What are you going to play first?
I'm going to do a medley. Rap versus ballads. I'm going to lilt my way into a rhyme.
This should be interesting. You ready?
Yeah.
Take it away.
You right? Well, did you ever make a cannon made with lovely pickled cream? With the greens and scallions mingle like a picture in a dream. Did you ever make a hole on top to hold a melted flake of the creamy flavoured butter that their mothers used to make? Oh, you did, so did he, and so did I. And the more I think about it, sure, the nearer I to cry. Oh, weren't them the happy days where troubles we knew not, and our mothers made Kilkenny in the little skillet pot? Well, did you ever take potato cake and box it to your school? Tucked underneath your rockster with your books, your safe and rule. And when teacher wasn't looking, sure a great big bite to take of the creamy flavoured soft and melting sweet potato cake. Oh, you did, so did he, and so did I. And the more I think about it, sure, the nearer I to cry. Oh, weren't them the happy days where troubles we knew not, and our mothers made Kilkenny in the little skillet pot? A whole lot of nothing to lose, surrounded by family units and ruins. You can't see the emotional bruise reopening all wounds. Can you give me a distraction? Can I inject a straight raw? Got us in the palm of their hand, social control taking a stand, eliminating one virus for another on demand. I'm afraid of failure, we suffuse the care. Convince myself I'm reflecting deep when I'm lost in a stare. I can't handle reality, I don't want to be facing life. I believe in anarchy, but I'm too busy chasing strife to apply principled ideas to my routine. Scared not out of cowardice, but because we're human beings. Mother Nature will suffice and God will provide survival mode. We just mimic behaviour, can't comprehend, do as you're told. Because our mothers were busy with strains of womanhood profound, we learn that silence is gold and hypersensitive to every sound. The combination of a dishonest environment with a surplus of woe. So much falsity, the extinction of imagination is a requirement, putting a time limit upon us to grow. Whether brought kicking or streaming or cradled into this existence, truth seeking is our full-time occupation, never slacking off, building stamina and resilience, wielding candid brilliance, courage to hold your own, the ripest apple of the unseen eye, homes we broken home, a birthright and juvenile delinquents. Innocence is bliss, but with responsibility comes discomfort. If you never had luxury, independence won't be met with reluctance. Putting your hand out to be smashed a bit into keeping in line, retaliate or retract what you becomes decision time. Oh, you did, so did he, and so did I. And the more I think about it, sure, the nearer I to cry. Oh, weren't them days where troubles we knew not, and our mothers make a cannon in the little skillet pot. Revert, comfort seek in the bosom that expands and contracts with noxious gas, and you thought the air was free. Things are invisible to our limited visibility. The organic truth is restricted. The new nature is matricized, shafty. Identify God with the universal consciousness, wholesome and true. Apparently people survive birth, but the majority dying cosmical utero. Torn from the womb, from the birth canal, the tale nebulous ideals of pleasure, not the dream chase. Left fieldism layered with lies of the dawn of our descent to deliberately debase. More miraculous than bloom, the mass market corporate culture, unplugged from the omnipotent umbilical connection with the divine mother. Social justice vague and impossibility, the way the world operates. Brainwashed from birth, acclimatized to lies. You want the truth? Look in your eyes, that's where it blindingly emanates. Oh, you did, so did he, and so did I. And the more I think about it, sure, the nearer I to cry. Oh, weren't them the happy days where troubles we knew not, and our mothers made the cannon in the little skillet pot. That's in the heat of the minute, no creativity in it. Violence has nothing to gain, effectual, simple and plain. Changes like the tide of moon's wax and its wane. Disgusted I'd be if one day I might see through the blindness of the race that invigorates me. We're lovers entwined, all our thoughts are aligned with the hopeless aspiration that my soul cannot find. So it dwells in my mind, every theory combined. Suppose a blessed malady, but I find it unkind. The reason is just the sickening lust is a manifestation of denying God's trust. Only two shadows, one guides the other hands. The shadow of a person in the middle just fronts. This is my facade, wasn't too hard to tame. The challenge still resides in an attempt to numb pain, and the so sad sadness that saddens me sadly. Would he appreciate me if he had not had me? Cut him out was misery in one fell breath. Rhyme at the moon, let him hell himself to death. And look at you now, you've adopted a different method. You took issue with how your attitude had turned wretched. That you reflected, can't the self-resurrect it. It took a long time, that was to be expected.
Temperamental miscellaneous for Awaken TV. Jesus, how do you remember all that stuff? I could barely remember your name. That was fantastic.
Thank you very much.
So there you go, temperamental miscellaneous. Wow, you got to check out that video on YouTube. It's just the actual Amazon, not Amazon, Balcony TV. I should say, not buying books. Balcony TV recording of her playing a baron in a beautiful green emerald dress. It really is amazing with a rap mixed in there too. You know, we're going to have her hopefully on the show next week. That is the plan. We've made contact with her in the last 24 hours, and hopefully we'll have her on, maybe a live performance, first live performance on Awaken Ireland. And Paul, you want to talk about the upcoming event in Waterford?
Yeah, that's right. We have an Awaken Waterford meeting. Talk in Dooley's Hotel on the 16th and 17th of June from 2 p.m. until 11 p.m. The speakers are yet to be announced. All the details will be published soon on we have a website.
Yeah, AwakenWaterford.com is being
Awaken Waterford.
Built.
Yeah, and there are also there's a list of some upcoming events on the AwakenMovementIreland.com website, which you can have a look at if you're interested.
Which covers all the national roadshow events that are happening all across the country. Now we do have quite a few speakers that are booked to turn up and present their information on the 16th and 17th of June. We have Ben Gilroy. On the Saturday we have many other people from the Awaken Ireland movement. And we have Thomas Sheridan, who wrote a book on the psychopaths in society and in the corporate world and how they affect us. And on the Sunday then we have Brian Garish and hopefully Ian Crane too, and many others from across the pond. And we're very much looking forward to that. And it's been very well organised. Claire O'Sullivan, thanks very much for all the hard work. And I have everybody else involved with it too. And Paul, I think we're going to call it a night.
Yes, I'm getting tired actually.
Yeah.
It's been a long day.
Okay, well, so thanks everybody for listening in our first show. And overall it went very smoothly. And we'll have all the technical glitches sorted for next week.
Hopefully. With everything going well.
So we're going to finish on a song from a band who I discovered many years ago now, who were underground for many years. called Elbow, and this is a song called Grounds for Divorce. So from me, James.
And from me, Paul, wherever you are, people, good night.